Hi, I'm Anthony D'Alessandro with Deadline Hollywood. We are here today at our South by Southwest studio talking about the documentary Secret Mall Apartment. We are here today with executive producer Jesse Eisenberg. Hello.
Hello.
And director Jeremy Workman. Hi.
Hi.
So my first question is, tell us the story about how this whole idea came to you. And of course, tell us about the film. It's a Providence, it takes place at the Providence Mall.
It's like nothing you could even imagine. In 2003 to 2007, a group of like activists, artists, weirdos, they were mad about the Providence Place Mall, which is this massive building in the middle of Providence. And they decide on a whim to sneak in. They don't know what they're going to do. They discover a space under the movie theater, somehow connected to the mall, a fantasy space, a space that doesn't really exist on any blueprints, and they decide to move in. And they live there on and off for 4 years, filming everything along the way. And this is a story that, I got to know one of the main subjects, and then he and I. He had been deflecting a lot of overtures of people making this film, and finally we really connected, and we really collaborated on it, and now we're showing it to the world, and it's just incredible, the footage as well.
Now, you had access to a ton of footage. Why did they document it?
They were all like kind of crazy artists, and they had no real reason to document it. They weren't trying to make a movie. They were filming with these very old, this is 2003, so this is before iPhones and everything. And they had a camera that was very low quality, like really low quality, postage stamp size. But they filmed 24 hours when they were in the mall over the course of the 4 years, bringing in furniture, tapping into the electricity, putting in televisions, playing PlayStations, and just doing the most incredible things right under the mall's nose and nobody knowing. And basically got just this incredible footage. And then it came to me, and we were able to kind of sculpt it into this whole story.
I love so they put up a cinder block wall to kind of hide everything, and they actually shot bringing in the cinder blocks. Like they were literally handing them in. They got them in under a gate in the back, and they're handing it one by one.
It's wild. It's like a heist movie. You're like watching, like this sort of heist movie, and it's in this one of their grandest gestures. They're like, let's build a wall, let's put in doors, let's have keys, and you watch them sneaking in the cinder block. And that I know that was also something that you really were like,
oh my, great, because a lot of this movie, which is like a documentary about this thing that happened 20 years ago, plays like a modern day heist movie, because these kids, they're kids at the time, are sneaking in just the most absurd stuff. But it instead of robbing money from a bank, they're sneaking in old furniture and ottomans and old couches and a PlayStation. And then the cinder block thing is just crazy because they have to roll under a gate holding these small cinder blocks stuck on their arms, and then climb. It's just crazy what you're watching, and it's all for the sake of just this kind of esoteric, beautiful art project.
Now, how did the documentary come to you?
I worked on another documentary with Jeremy as a producer called The World Before Your Feet, which is about this guy, Matt Green, who walks every single street in New York City. And it's very similar. The movie's phenomenal. And it's very similar in kind of aesthetic to this movie, which is that Jeremy finds these people who are doing something eccentric, who, when you talk about them, sounds like a lark, sounds like something silly. And then Jeremy finds the humanity, finds the depth, finds the sophistication, finds the purpose in these subjects. And the movies are astounding. These two movies really do play for me like a double bill, because you're watching these people do something that, just seems silly. But when he gets in depth with them, you realize that not only is it this fun, silly thing, but it's also this amazing, statement about art, statement about, socialization, statement about gentrification, race, class. That's what this movie really does in such a beautiful, fun way.
This movie reminded me a lot of a comedian friend of mine in Boston in the 90s who lived in a factory setting. And it made me think, did you come up in a commune of artists at some point during the early part of your acting career?
If you can call suburban New Jersey an art colony, well, you'd be the first one to do that. No, but I always, once I kind of moved into New York when I was like 18, I moved to New York City, and I started meeting people who were kind of more countercultural than I was raised to be. And I would go to Brooklyn and see that they had just, taken these warehouses. I don't even know if this really exists anymore. This is 20 years ago now. Warehouses where they were all living, and it just seemed so amazing. So aspirational for me as like an artist. I was acting, but like auditioning for like commercials and stuff, really kind of silly stuff. And they were like, doing really unusual stuff. And in this movie, it shows that before this mall moved in to Providence, there was a whole group and a whole kind of community of artists living in these old mill buildings that predated the war in Providence, and that was all wiped away. So part of the goal of these artists were basically to like take back the kind of housing. Their housing was destroyed because of gentrification, because of kind of stupid, unthoughtful capitalism in the case of this mall and the way it was designed and excluded people, and really to take back to living space.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse and I have had a great relationship, like working on my films. But I really did, when we were working on this, I like knew that it would connect with him because it's this kind of bonkers story and it's really fun and it's entertaining and it's like watching a heist movie. But at its core, it's got all these things on its mind, deeper thoughts about, issues and space and, as Jesse said, about gentrification happening in our cities and the idea of private versus public space. And they're all artists and they're not really trying to, they're not trying to capitalize on anything. They're just trying to make a statement that's meaningful for them. And I know that, I always knew when I was working on it, like, yeah, this very much kind of connects with a lot of Jesse's ethos as well.
So, not to spoil anything, but I will ask this. Has the mall upped its security since this happened?
The mall has struggled, like a lot of malls in America. It has really struggled, and I think there's something really interesting too about here. These guys in the early 2000s went in, and now when it was at its like peak, and now here we are, all these years later, and malls across America are all struggling. And this was a big story in Providence. Then it kind of became urban legend. It was forgotten a lot amongst like the current generation. So a lot of people know about it. Oh, yeah. Like, oh wait, I've heard of that. I've heard of that. Real. Yeah.
You're on a roll after Sundance.
Oh, thanks.
With The Real Pain, selling Searchlight, as well as Sasquatch Sunset. What's next? Are you prepping your next film to direct?
Yeah, I'm hoping to start in the fall, but I think it might have to push. But yeah, I would love to do one a year if possible. I could work that quickly. I want to the thing that slows us down is just like scheduling for actors, etc. But yeah, that's what I'd love to do next.
Can you give us a sense of what your next project is?
Oh yeah, it's a kind of like a musical, yeah, I've always wanted to write a musical, and I have written musicals, but none of them have ever been produced. But this one will be.
And you've written original music.
Yeah.
You look shocked.
Well, the first film you did had something to do.
There were songs in there. Yeah, exactly.
In there.
But I'm not stupid, so I know like the ceiling, which is very low of my skill set, and so the musical is not. The musical that's being performed in the movie is not a great musical. So, because I know I have a ceiling as a songwriter, and I'm playing right at that ceiling.
No title yet. No cast.
I can't say. I'm so sorry. So sorry. I'll get sued by probably my mother. But thank you so much. But the truth is, in terms of like a project like this, I feel so lucky to be approached by Jeremy. Jeremy approached me out of the blue for the previous movie, which I cannot recommend highly enough. No, it doesn't matter. But it's just the most wonderful thing, and it's such a joy to be part of something like this, where I can be more of a fan than I am the kind of person. Jeremy has so much pressure on him. He's worked on this for so long, and I come in really as a fan, a champion, and to just throw some ideas around.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jeremy Workman, Jesse Eisenberg.
Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you.